Welcome to the Mayor Archive Collective's annual general meeting. The MAC board opens their monthly meetings with a moment of silence and reflection on Baba. As we begin today, we'd like to take a few minutes for all of us to arrive and to remember what is most important. Please join us for a rendition of the Beloved God prayer with music by William Stanhope and sung by the Asheville Choir. Jai Meher Baba. That was beautiful. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you all for tuning in. I want to go over a few housekeeping and Zoom meeting guidelines to help this meeting run as smooth as possible. We have a lot to cover, and we have a goal to get you out on time. So to that end, because this is a webinar, we're going to be remaining in panelist view for the entire meeting, so everyone will be on mute. We will not be using the hand-raising tab during today's webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the question and answer section at the bottom at any time during the seminar. We'll be answering questions at 2 different areas of the program. So to submit a question, if you look at the bottom of your panel, you'll see a Q&A button. If you tap on that button, a screen will pop up where you can type in anything that you want and it'll appear anonymously. Hugh Huntington will be leading the question and answer portion of our program. We will attempt to answer all of the questions that are presented live if possible, but if for some reason we run out of time, all your questions will be answered via email. So feel free to type them in at any time. Okay, so we're going to begin with Renee Busanich, who's Board of Directors Secretary, to call the meeting to order. Renee, you can unmute.
Thank you, Lisa. Per MAC's bylaws, the quorum at the AGM will be 51% of the Board of Directors present. And it's noted that 8 Board of Directors are visible and in attendance, and we will establish that the meeting has been duly called and that a quorum is present. I'm going to go over the agenda very quickly. We're going to talk about business matters, Board of Directors introduction, Board Chair report, the MAC finances and committees, reports from the archives, the building, construction, fundraising, library, and volunteer services, with time for questions. Back to you.
Thank you, Renee. So there is a lot to cover. So to start out, we'd like to introduce Scott Tower, who's our board chair and president of the Mayor Archive Collective. Scott has a family connection with Baba through his grandmother, who met him in Myrtle Beach in 1958. He's been involved with the MAC since 2017 and stepped into the role of chair this past April. He has a passion for preserving the legacy of Baba's advent for future generations. Scott has served on a variety of nonprofit boards in the past and is committed to helping the MAC move forward over the next 2 years. To Scott with his welcome message and board chair remarks. You can unmute, Scott.
Thank you, Lisa. Welcome, everyone. Wonderful to be here with you in this rather new universe we all inhabit on Zoom. But very nice to have a sense of all of us being present here today, and look forward to sharing with you a little bit about where MAC has been, where it is, and where we're headed. I'd like to start by acknowledging a number of people today. The first, our moderator, Elisa Genovese, who you've already heard from. Thank you, Elisa, for keeping us in line and shepherding the meeting in order. And also I'd like to acknowledge the man behind the curtain, Greg Dunn, who you do not see, but he is making sure that the technical aspects of the meeting go smoothly. And along with his wife, Gay, has been instrumental in setting up the meeting. Greg has also recently moved in the position of the chair of our community, our information technology committee, overseeing the development of the website and other technological issues, and we're grateful for that. Would also like to recognize Debbie Nordeen, who's going to be a keynote speaker, talking a little bit later about her journey to and with Meher Baba, and reflecting on her thoughts on community. We'll also be hearing from Elaine Cox, who will be sharing some information about archiving, along with Terry Adams, who's going to share some of her experience as a volunteer. Additionally, sorry about that. Additionally, Scott O'Neill will also share his thoughts on his own connection and work with archiving. And finally, at the end, we will hear some music from Beverly Smith. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the board of directors, some of whom may be known to you and some not. If you wouldn't all mind just waving when I introduce you. First, Ken Blackman, who is the vice president and also the project manager at our large construction undertaking that you'll hear more about shortly. Renee Busanich. Hi, Renee. Renee is our secretary and also the liaison for the volunteer committee, coordinating volunteer work. Arthur Trupp joined us as treasurer in the spring, and he transitioned out of this role and now is in a role overseeing the new the new technology development of the website. Jean Brunei Ludwig is also on the board, one of the original members, and is liaison with the communications committee and also social events and planning. Hugh Huntington, the former chair of MAC, is continuing on the board, thankfully, and is working as the the building operations committee liaison overseeing how the building's actually going to be functioning when we're in it. Next is Ann Barker, another new addition to the board, who brings to us a great professional experience as a librarian and is the liaison and chair of the library committee. And lastly on the board is Evie Lindeman, another new addition to the board this spring. Evie is involved with the fundraising committee and also brings her wonderful enthusiasm and presence to the board. It's a real privilege to be involved with such an extraordinary group of people, and very grateful for the opportunity to all work together. Another person I'd like to acknowledge who's not able to join us today is Eric, who is the archive director and has been an instrumental and key person in the development of MAC since the very beginning. Unfortunately, he's not able to be with us in the meeting today. So I think that finishes the introductions. Thank you all. And I'd like to move on to a report from the chair. And forgive me if you see me moving around a little bit here. So before talking about MAC and where it's been and where it's going, I wanted just to acknowledge for a moment a little bit of the extraordinary times that we seem to live in. Many of us are sitting here in Asheville with fairly torrential rain at the moment, and certainly aware of other parts of the country with raging fires and hurricanes. And it's an extraordinary time that Baba has created for all of us. And just to acknowledge those, some of you perhaps on this call who are on the West Coast or other places, and just thinking of all of you. So I'd like to share some of the accomplishments of the past year and our goals moving forward. Before getting into this, I'd like to share with you something of a larger vision of MAC. It's been an extraordinary project to be involved with, and it feels full of Baba in so many ways. I recently wrote a short piece in which I reflected on the image of Margaret Crask dancing for her beloved on a very lumpy hillside, and how that seems to resonate with the project that we're involved with, that we're being called by Baba to serve him, to dance before him on whatever terrain he provides. And this is a wonderful opportunity to remember it's really all his game and his dance, and MAC is dancing to his tune, hopefully. We're striving to please him in the midst of unexpected terrain as well as expanded possibility. And everybody who's inspired to participate is part of this dance for him, whatever we're doing. We have a vision for this project of a very extraordinary dynamic hub for Meher Baba for many, many generations to come, which is a little hard for, I think, all of us to grasp, but that is indeed what we're aiming at and what we're trying to achieve. Many people visiting the site, the future home of MAC, have been moved by what they feel there, what they see, what the dedication that they see that's been involved in this project. And it's an extraordinary project. And I had a personal experience very early on whilst walking on the property before we purchased it. And it was an unusual experience in which I just had a sense of what was going to happen there. Not what might happen, but really a feeling of what was going to happen. And it was a very dynamic place, people coming from all over the world to find out about, to share their perspective and knowledge about Baba. And it was an extraordinary experience. And I've held on to that image in the 2 years since, as I think the board has in their own way as well. I'd like to speak for a moment now about the urgency of the need to protect and preserve the artifacts that are connected to Meher Baba's advent. Letters, photos, items that have had physical contact with Baba. I think it's fair to say that we have all of us are extraordinarily blessed to be alive at a time in proximity to the avatar. Who knows what we all did in the past to deserve this? And there are a small number of people, some of whom in this meeting today, who had the rare privilege of meeting Baba in the physical form. And also a number of people, but that number is getting smaller, those of us who had the opportunity to spend time with the Mandali. And most of us have been deeply moved by the stories of people coming to Baba, the stories of those who lived and served with him. We speak of being in the post-Mandali era. There's no longer any of them physically here to be present as our friends and guides and role models. No, those humble giants as I think of them. It's quite a change, certainly for those of us who had a chance to be there and to soak up the atmosphere in their presence. The post-Mandali era is very different. What I'd like to mention is that we are headed towards the post-Mandali contact era, in which all of us won't be around, at which point there will be no longer anyone alive who had physical contact and connection with the Mandali. At that point, the world will be largely dependent on sources of information. And it's vitally important that we preserve what's available. We take a lot for granted. I think we take perhaps ourselves and some of our fellow Baba lovers that there's always going to be someone around who can tell a story that has contact. And that's wonderfully true for us, but it will not be true for future generations. And so we feel we have a very strong calling and sacred obligation really to do whatever we can to help in this effort. We're not alone in this effort, but we feel a strong desire to make a contribution. So I'd like to share some of the accomplishments that MAC has had over the last year. There have been quite a number of them. As we continue to lay the foundation for a long-term project, we've expanded and deepened the board, as well as filling out committees with capable, dedicated volunteers, defining new roles and forging new ways of working together. These changes have been helped greatly by the input of Tracy Lilly, professional consultant with many years of experience helping nonprofits and board development. And I'd just like to acknowledge at this point, Tracy, for all her hard work, her persistence and patience and dedication to helping mature ourselves as a board and an organization and establish a strong and enduring foundation. So thank you for all that you've brought to us, Tracy. Over the past year, MAC has also developed a plan for outreach and outward communication. We've created consistent newsletters that many of you have seen, hopefully all of you. And many of you may have also seen a recent article in the On Point magazine. If you haven't, I encourage you to seek it out and look at it. I would like to have a personal thank you to Laurent, who was inspired on his first visit to the MAC site, and also to Diane Tower-Jones, who worked with the contributions from board members to edit and craft a wonderful article introducing MAC to a broader audience. Another recent addition is the addition of a video page to the website. We have a number of talks by Peter Nordeen at the moment, and we'll be expanding those to include a variety of other speakers. It's vital that we have a record of the stories and the storytellers, and it's one of our commitments to do what we can to help both create and preserve and share that information and those stories. Another aspect of our growth is we're in the process of a major overhaul of our website. I mentioned that Greg Dunn is involved with that. We're also working with Mirdhil Irani for his help in this design. So in the future, you will have a different experience, and we look forward to being able to share more with you through that vehicle. We've also made quite a lot of progress and continued working with the building, which we have named the Meher New Life Center as a location that will house the Meher Archive Collective. And in the future, we envision a variety of additional activities happening in this location for the Baba community and those beyond. We've managed to maintain momentum in the midst of the COVID restrictions, continuing construction work. You'll hear more about this from Ken Blackman in his committee report a little bit later on. We have a timeline to move MAC into the building by the end of this year. It's moving ahead quickly, and again, you'll hear more about this shortly. While we've been engaged in the large task of renovating the building, the work on the archiving project itself has continued in our current location. New collections and old collections are being processed, and you will hear a bit more of the details of this from Elaine Cox when she reports for the archiving. Goals. I'd say our goals for the coming year to continue to embrace this extraordinary journey that Baba has opened up for all who's involved, and to try to follow his lead in this dance. Completing the renovations on the second floor of the building, which is where we're moving MAC into, is the primary focus at the moment, a task that will require substantial additional funding. You'll hear more about finances a little bit later. We also want to increase the scope and awareness of MAC and the project nationally and internationally, attract broader participation at a variety of levels. Through all of this, we seek to build community and connectivity as we connect through the remembrance of Baba. We're building a home for Baba, for remembrance of him and for future generation. This gives us the opportunity individually and collectively to explore how we best prepare a home for Baba in ourselves, in our lives. It's been very moving to me to hear multiple people express that they feel it's a real privilege to be involved in this project. People who are working hard on the board and people who are out volunteering, working on cleaning and construction, all manner of participation. I certainly feel that this is a privilege as well, and feel very grateful for the opportunity that Baba has presented. We invite you to join the growing community and to participate, whether as a volunteer on renovations, direct archival work, other contributions, including financial donations. Thank you, and I look forward to sharing additional information today with you all. Back to you, Elisa.
Thank you, Scott. That was very informative and very moving. So next, we are delighted to have Debbie Nordeen as our keynote speaker. Debbie Nordeen first heard Mayor Baba's name in 1976 from her cousin. Debbie and her husband, Peter, have been living in Mehrabad during most winters since 1984, where she works in the Mehrabad Welcome and Information Office, helping coordinate events. Debbie is a community music facilitator who enjoys leading Baba choruses in Mehrabad and at various events in North Carolina, like the Mayor Baba Music Sahavas. Currently, Debbie works as an ad hoc volunteer for the Mayor Archive Collective and continues serving on Avatar Mayor Baba Trust projects as well. Years ago, Baba's sister Mani wrote several songs that she asked Debbie to notate for sharing with the worldwide Baba family. Debbie holds these times with Mani and her memories of Mera and the other Mandali as deep life treasures. Welcome, Debbie. She will speak today on community, arriving at that ripeness. Debbie, you can unmute.
Jay Baba, that was, wow. It was wonderful hearing Scott and hearing that introduction. Now I was like, is that me? By the way, when Scott was speaking, I chose speaker view because then you could see just the person who's speaking, and I thought that was so helpful. Years ago, I was standing at Lower Mehrabad talking to a friend, wondering whether Peter and I would ever be able to afford building a house at Mehrabad. I casually said, well, if we win the lottery, anything is possible. Without missing a beat, my friend emphatically said, but you've already won the lottery. In a flash, I knew exactly what he meant. Out of the 7 billion people on the planet, 2 souls were standing at Mehrabad where God himself had walked, talked, worked, had given so much love and spiritual training, and where his form is buried. Think of this perspective. Out of the billions of people on earth, those who know and love Baba could maybe fit into a city the size of Asheville. How rare it is to know Meher Baba. Meher Baba is the treasure of infinite worth. He said, "Time and again, I come to arouse and awaken humanity. When I am here, I come for all, but I am for the few who recognize me and are made to recognize me by my grace. It is my grace that makes people recognize me as I am." Every single one of us who is here today has been touched by Meher Baba's grace. Baba's beautiful Meher would always tell us, "You love him because he first loved you." We have already won the lottery. I was asked to speak today a little bit about the concept of community. I like to think of the word community as an invitation. Come, unity. About unity, Baba said, "Unity in the midst of diversity can be made to be felt only by touching the very core of the heart. This is the work for which I have come." He said that unity is the result of his work of touching the core of the heart. What is more unifying than being with our Baba family? When we work together, Baba so enjoys his role as the perfect producer, director, and writer of whatever the current scene is that's being played out. And he is such an efficiency expert. So many plot twists, character developments in his play. Who could produce this better than Baba? And to what end? The source, the currency, and the goal is always the same. Love, divine love. But then Baba also tells us that we are not really we are one. He says even the use of the word we has no place in the oneness because it suggests there is another besides one. So again, come unity. In the message Task for Spiritual Workers, Baba tells us about the many opportunities his lovers have to share in his work for the upliftment of humanity. His work is unity. And Mani would always tell us that when we work for Baba, he is working on us, through us, and for us. If we are restoring something, Baba is restoring us. If we are sowing something, Baba is mending us. But then how? How do we do this work? The answer is very simple. We don't. A few years ago, I was in the midst of Mehrabad Amartithi preparations. Thousands of pilgrims were to arrive in the next few days, and I felt very overwhelmed by my duties in the welcome office. Pulling out my hair, complaining to my young Indian co-worker, I told him, "We have so much to do. How can we possibly get it done? It'll never get done in time." Without missing a beat, this younger, wiser Baba brother said to me, "Well, actually, Debbie, we are not doing it. Baba is getting it done." Baba is getting it done. Then the years of being with Baba, of reading the discourses about the provisional ego and how Baba encourages us not to think, I do this, I do that, but rather Baba is eating, Baba is sleeping, Baba is getting it done. This reminder came flooding back to the front of my consciousness, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief. And sure enough, Baba got everything done, and it was a wonderful Amartithi. I really felt humbled and overjoyed by that reminder by another Baba lover. Now, this doesn't mean that we refrain from doing anything, just the opposite. We keep active as the instruments of his doing. He is the virtuoso, we are the violins. He is the surgeon, we are the scalpels. He is the master builder, we are the hammer and tools. He is the driver, we are the car. Baba gets it done through us. And what amazing things our beloved is doing. Remember, Babajan said her son would shake the world? Could these current volatile times be the birthing pains of the new humanity? I think it is. And right here in North Carolina, our conductor, Meher Baba, is perfectly orchestrating all the efforts of his own Meher Archive Collective. There's no doubt in my mind about who is getting it done when it comes to the unfolding of the work here. There are only a dozen or so places on this planet that are devoted to the work of preserving and sharing Meher Baba's legacy, the precious legacy. And the collective goal of MAC is to collaborate efforts with these other dedicated Baba organizations around the world. What opportunities Baba is giving us all. What started out here in Asheville as a good idea amongst a few of us to find a small place to preserve Baba's treasures that we were given either by the Mandali or inherited from other Baba lovers expanded into the formation of a 501c3 and to the purchase of an old, huge school on a mountaintop in one of the most climate-friendly, beautiful places on the planet. Baba is getting it done. Questions do arise, just like Scott was saying. How can all this be happening? How will it sustain itself? We don't know all the answers, but we know Baba has opened the doors every step of the way, showing the next step as and when it is needed. We do our best to plan prudently. Baba told us he enjoys working things out. I like to remind myself that Meher Baba has planned the next 700 years. This is not a sprint. This work here is a long marathon. And not only that, it's a relay from one generation of Baba's lovers to the next. I remember hearing a story from another resident in India. Once in the 80s, when Mara and the women were preparing for their annual summer trip to Pune, my friend told Mara, maybe this year Baba will fix all those rotten potholes in the road so you won't have such a bumpy ride to Pune. Mara immediately replied, oh no. He's already done so much for us. Now he's waiting to see what we will do for him. I love that story. We remember Baba. How do we arrive at this type of surrenderance? He has said that he alone does his work. Well, then how do we help him in this work? How does he get it done through us? We must remember him when we start and do anything. Our job is to keep our instruments tuned for his playing. I forgot to mention that Meher Baba's play is always a musical. You should have known that was coming from me. We dedicate our lives to his presence, translating our love into actions, supporting his causes with our efforts and resources. His is the voice of intuition. We listen to his promptings to work in his cause of unity, playing whatever parts he assigns. We welcome him to shake our branches, prune us, stimulating our blossoming in his love. We have already won the lottery. What do we do with this treasure of infinite worth? We share it. It is his love. It is a joy. I'd like to close with a beautiful quote from Baba's fantastic message, my dear workers. Although only the one who has become one with God can serve and work for all, I allow you to work for me so that you have the opportunity to use your talents and capacities selflessly, and to draw closer to me. At this stage, you cannot know what real love is, but through working for me as you should work for me, you will arrive at that ripeness where, in a moment, I can give you that which you have been seeking for millions of years. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Debbie. That was so wonderful. I can only just feel Baba just going like that. So again, we'll hear from Scott Tower, board chair and interim treasurer, to review MAC finances. Hugh Huntington will lead a question and answer session once the finances are reviewed. So if you haven't already submitted your questions by clicking on the question and answer tab button, do so now. Scott, I'll turn it over to you. You can unmute.
Thank you, Elisa. I'm going to put on a different hat for the next few moments as the interim treasurer and share with you some summary financial information about MAC. An important detail in our story and our finances goes back to the purchase of the building. And many of you know the story, but I want to just remind you of a couple of the details. We had the extraordinary opportunity to purchase a 25,000 square foot school building on 6 acres of land for $550,000. And this included a last minute negotiation down from 725 to 550, which was really a confirmation of Baba turning the key at the last moment, and we felt it was really meant to be. We feel it was a tremendous opportunity, not just for near term, but for the long-term planning that we've been talking about as well. And in terms of the value of the money that was spent, we felt it was quite unusual and very important. $27 a square foot was the purchase price of the building. And even with all of the renovations that we plan into the future, the price per square foot will remain under $90, which for anyone who's been involved with construction and renovation, you know that's a very good thing. It's been very moving to me personally and to everybody involved to see the outpouring of support in the Baba world that first made it possible for us to purchase the building 2 years ago, and then to embark on a very large scale project of renovating the building, first to get MAC into it, as I mentioned earlier, and then to expand it in future components later on. One question that I think is important to address and important for all of you to be asking us is, have we been good stewards of the money that has been so generously donated to us? And I think the answer, I have to say, is yes. We've been extremely careful with all the money that's been spent, and have also benefited from literally thousands of hours of volunteer contributions. You'll hear a bit more about that later. And also outpouring of generous financial contributions, both great and small, have made it possible for us to be there and possible for us to get the work done that we've gotten to up until this point. Another thing to share with you is that we have created very detailed policies and procedures for our finances and are working to adhere to those very closely. We've also arranged in the near future to have an internal audit performed, and Scott O'Neill has kindly offered to help with that as an outside of MAC person with extensive business experience, to have a look at our finances from an outside perspective to see if we indeed are following our procedures and policies as we need to. This is very important for our transparency and also as a nonprofit. We do intend to have an external professional financial audit in the future. We haven't done that to date for budgetary reasons, but intend to do so in the future. So I would like to share with you right now a summary on the screen. I'm going to share a screen with you of, forgive me for, this is a sheet that is a summary with summary categories of the money that's come in and out of MAC since its inception in 2016, when we began as a fledgling project. And you can notice the donations going forward, and altogether the funds we've received are over $1.1 million to date, which is quite extraordinary. The expenses are detailed there by year, both operating and capitalized expenses. The operating expenses also include the expenses for running the archive at our current location and other professional fees. The number down in the bottom right-hand corner is what we currently have in the bank, but $167,000 at the end of August. So this has been an overview of money that's come in and money that's gone out. And we'd like now to move forward to talk about what we need as we do move forward. And that need is substantial. We've divided the project into 3 phases and are currently in the middle of phase 1. This phase includes all of the initial site preparations, the cleaning up of an old site, the reinforcing of of a roof, the replacement of a roof on the classroom wing. Tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of volunteers were involved in this effort. And phase one also includes all the work that is required to get Mayer Archive Collective into this building and operational. It includes the creation of archival vaults, archival workrooms, offices, a room that will become a BABA room, as well as library, reading room, and meeting area and place for volunteers. That's the scope of what we are trying to finish in phase one. We have a timeline, as I mentioned in my remarks a few moments ago, that would get us into the building by the end of the year. And it is possible. A lot of things are going to have to fall in place, and a lot of things have in this project. So we are hopeful about that. It also requires substantial additional funding, and we are equally hopeful for that, and doing our best and leaving it to Baba. This whole project has been such a gift to so many of us to do just that, to work as hard as we can and then turn it over to him, because he's the one who's turning the keys. So our financial needs to get into the building to complete phase one, at this point, we need to raise an additional $350,000. And we have some exciting news from the fundraising committee that Evie will be sharing with you in a little bit of some opportunities that have come up for us that will help us reach our goal. I'm going to share another summary with you to give you a little idea, another sheet on the screen, to give you an overview of these different phases. I've spoken about phase one. So we have the purchase of the property, preliminary work, phase one, which we're in the process of. Phase two and three, briefly to tell you where we're headed, once phase one is obviously complete, is phase two is the preparation of the ground floor classroom spaces to accommodate rentals. We have a vision of creating rental spaces to provide ongoing income in the near term. In the very long term, we anticipate that this project will need and take up all of the space in this very large building. But until we get to that point, the idea is to provide a revenue stream, and so that space will be available in the future when we need it, and we have some financial support between now and then. Phase three involves the auditorium, which is a very large school auditorium, a beautiful stage, and that's a very big project, and down the road at this point. But we look forward to it being a space, hopefully post-viral, post-COVID times, when again, we can have dozens or hundreds of people gathered closely together for Baba events. The Asheville Music Sahavas is an event which we anticipate would be hosted here, as well as other speakers and events connected to Baba. Additionally, this space could be used as an additional source of income for offering a source of income. So to give you another summary, looking here, this tries to put it a little bit tighter together on the screen, overviewing the purchase price and the budgeted and projected amounts for different aspects of the project. Again, with our current need mentioned at the bottom. So our primary goal at this moment is to complete phase one while keeping in mind the larger, longer vision. And as I said, there's a timeline to get us in there by the end of the year if many things fall into place. It's our goal and our intent, and we're doing our best to try to achieve that, knowing that it's his dances, and as Debbie said so beautifully, he's the one doing the work. We just have to do our best to try to follow his lead. If you'd like more detail about any of these financial figures or information, please contact us. Be happy to share that with you. And if you would like to participate and feel moved to help support this ongoing project and our short-term needs with financial contributions, we of course would be most grateful. There are also many opportunities to participate in a variety of ways, and we welcome hearing from you. So thank you, and I'll turn it back over to you, Elisa.
Thank you, Scott.
I need to.
Yeah, unshare your screen. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the first of our question and answer sessions of the meeting, and I will turn this over to Hugh Huntington. And again, you can ask a question by clicking on the button at the bottom, and your questions will be then directed to the relevant board members. Hugh, you can unmute.
Well, welcome to you all. Pleasure to have you with us today. I want to encourage you to keep asking questions. We will answer those as best we can in a fairly short order, but we will also, if we don't get to your question today, we will be providing email answers to all participants on all questions. So let's take the first question. How do you plan to collaborate with other BABA archives around the world? Well, I'm going to choose to answer that question. In the early days of our formation, we were reaching out and looking for ways. And very quickly, the first thing we stumbled into was how we're going to need to have a common database in order for all of us to link up. This is going to be a huge task. We have decided to put that task kind of on the back burner for the moment, though there's still some discussion about how to make that happen. Obviously, the building has just drawn our time like a sponge drawing water for the last couple of years. We're very receptive and want to cooperate. We want to cooperate at every level we can with sharing of information, sharing of data, sharing of books, sharing of papers written, whatever the process can be, so that anyone who wants to contact our site can move off to another site. Anyone who contacts another site can move to our site. And so we all have a huge amount of work to do and a lot of things to figure out between all the various archive collections, the major collections, as to how it is we're going to make this happen. All right, we have a second question. Are there any signs yet of a younger generation to sustain this work? Renee, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, I will. We've reached out to some of the younger generation here. We find that there's a lot of interest in creating opportunities for families to get involved and having a space, because we have lots of space for activities for kids and families. We have people that are interested in gardening. We have 6 acres out there that might become a community garden eventually. We've thought about having rooms, a room especially dedicated to kids so parents can come and participate in the events at the site and have a place for their kids. We want to have community events out on the lawn that include lawn games, parties, potlucks, etc., to help build that community in a natural sort of way. We have a lot of people here in Asheville who go to the center who we hardly see, and we hope that this becomes a focal point for them and their families as time goes on. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Renee. I'm going to move on, turn it back over to Elisa. In the interest of time, Elisa, take us to the next stage.
Thank you, Hugh. So thank you for your questions. Those were very thoughtful questions. There'll be more time again after we go through the different committees. We're going to hear from the Archive Committee, the Construction, the Fundraising, and the Library Committees. So let's begin with Elaine Cox, volunteer and resident archivist. Elaine came to Meher Baba as a young adult in New York City in 1967. After 1969, she returned to Mehrabad, and in 1974, she continued annual trips thereafter until 2009. When the archives building at Mehrabad was finished, she began longer stays there in 1989 as staff working on many projects. She moved to Asheville in 2017 and volunteers the archiving practices she learned at Mehrabad for the Meher Archive Collective. Welcome, Elaine. You can unmute.
Thank you. Well, hi to everyone joining us today. I'm going to report on the items, mostly document collections, that have been brought to us for archiving and safe storage. We now have more than 12 major document collections, as well as large book and periodical collections, also large tape, CD, and slide collections already in-house. These are in various stages of work. Once we receive a collection, it gets inventoried and organized by category and date. Then the cleaning begins, the dusting away of surface material and removing any metal such as paper clips, staples, etc. Then to the rehousing of every item. First slide, please. Rehousing means protecting each page of a document, supporting any weak or damaged pages with acid-free paper or tissue, and for valuable documents such as letters with original signature, placing them in Milanex sleeves for ultimate protection. And that's what you see here. This is a delicate letter that's being slid into a plastic or Milanex sleeve. This takes the oxygen out of the play and preserves old items. Then, of course, they all go into storage in an acid-free container. After rehousing, scanning and recording begins. Our largest collection so far is the Fred and Ella Winterfeld collection. 11 large file boxes and 2 albums of slides spanning from 1899 to 1969. This collection has completed its rehousing and is currently being scanned. Next slide, please. I think we have, yes, we have 2 pictures here from this collection. This is a rare photo of the Must 12 coats, and it was taken in 1962 at the East-West Gathering. And on the right of the screen, we have a rare photo of a signed aerogram by Baba's sister, Mani. And I would like to now go on and mention a few of the other collections, and you may know these names. Don and Margaret Euchre, lots of books awaiting inventory. Andy Muir, documents and photos, rehousing has been completed. Bill and Peggy Stevens, documents and photos, ongoing cleaning. Ursula Reinhardt, documents, rehousing completed. Neela Hayes, documents, rehousing completed. Robert Dreyfus, documents, awaiting inventory. Betty Grant, over 1,000 tapes, inventory completed. Yes, thanks to our volunteers. And just days ago, we received a new gift from Ann Giles of a pair of Mani's salwar or trousers, beautifully preserved. Thank you, Ann. And that would be the 3rd slide, please. And this brings me to our work during the COVID season. As currently we are in a relatively small space, only 1 volunteer is working with rehousing in that space, and 1 working with the scanner there. And there's 1 working at home doing an inventory. So we have slowed down, but we have not stopped. It bears mentioning that even in a small space, we do have an adjoining fireproof storage area that's reached its full capacity. So we obtained a large 2nd floor storage unit in a commercial storage building, which has significantly helped with workspace. Needless to say, we are so looking forward to the completion of the new ample space and facilities in our new Life Center building near Weaverville. And if you have any questions about archiving your collection, there's a lot more detail in our instructional Rehousing from Home on the MAC website, mayhairarchive.org. Well, that's about it for the first report. So back to you, Elisa.
Thank you, Elaine. That was very amazing work you're doing there. Next up, we have Scott O'Neill as our guest speaker. Scott first went to India in 1973 with a year-long stay and many follow-up visits. During that time, he developed a close connection with many of the Mandali. Scott lived in Myrtle Beach for 25 years and served on the center's Business Advisory Board for 4 years. Welcome, Scott. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Well, am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Well, hello, everybody, and thanks for the opportunity. As the board members know, and I hope most of you know, I'm not actually on the board of the Mayo Archive Collection, but I do have a very strong vested interest in their success. Over the years, I've been entrusted to with a lot of Baba treasures. The collection includes a lot of pretty fantastic things like Baba's coat and sadra from the late 1920s. I even have a picture of Baba in the coat. Baba's hair from the 1930s through the 1960s. A small piece of the famous Comley coat. 2 alphabet boards, one used, very unique one used during the New Life. A number of signatures, including a signed photo of Baba with his mother. And also slippers belonging to the perfect master, Narayan Maharaj. And also it's another unique thing is a gunny sack used by Pasni Maharaj that was given to me by Sister Mani. So this and there's a number of other items too numerous to list. So obviously I've been thinking about this a long time, and my concern is the long-term care and mainly the sharing and availability of these Baba treasures. So MAC appeared for me at just the right time. And there's a couple reasons why MAC's at the top of my list. There are certainly other centers, but MAC was formed with archiving as a primary purpose. It's not secondary. They're also big on preservation and sharing, not just sharing, but also sharing information so that you can do it yourself. They're located obviously in a geographically stable and a archivally hospitable area. It also, and this is a key for me, this is a large and growing Baba community, and it's attracting people under 50. Probably noticed in the slides, there's not a lot under 50s here. Well, I mean, on the panel, fortunately, Asheville is attracting the younger people, and that's a key. And it's also important to recognize, unfortunately, in other Baba areas, they're just getting older. So this is unique in that respect, and you need young people if you're going to continue. And finally, a key thing for me is I've been watching the leadership of MAC. They are proven leaders, and they also have a path for succession, which is going to ensure continuity. So if you're going to give valuable treasures and archives to a group, you want to make sure they're around. And MAC's going to be around. I think they've proven that. Now, doesn't mean I think MAC's the only choice. There's actually a number of centers, but I do think that diversity ensures the existence and the continued longevity of Baba treasures. So other centers have to pursue this as well. So the more that do it, the better for the efforts. About 10 years ago, before I knew about MAC, I offered to give most of the Baba treasures I have to the Mayor Center in Myrtle Beach. And I have a long association with them, and they're great folks, obviously. But they didn't feel that it was their key mission, as important as preservation is, to be involved with this archival work. So at first I was a little surprised, but later I thought of the wisdom of what they said, not only for their key mission, but also hurricanes, floods, and the climate's not exactly ideal for archives. I looked out west, same problem, wildfires in California. So the key for me is that MAC is in the right place at the right time. I do see MAC being a fantastic resource as far as archival help to the other centers around the country. And that's a key thing. So MAC's not competing with anybody. They're going to complement the work done at other centers. And the thing I like about that is that harmony is what Baba stressed in the Baba work. So whether you live here or you live across the ocean, Mac's a good investment if you're interested in putting some money and investment and time into the BABA work. You do it here, you're going to be helping all the centers too, I believe. And I think for most of us, we'd heard that BABA said there would be 5 main centers in the United States. I think it's pretty clear to me, at least, that Asheville is going to be one of those 5. So Mac's in the right place at the right time, and I think doing the right thing right now. So Monty said to me when she gave me that gunny sack how important the sharing is. And she also used to say all the time, most of you heard her say this, Baba's timing is perfect. But I would also remind you, the Mondly didn't sit around waiting for Baba's timing, nor did they sit around waiting for other people to act. So my feeling that this is the time, and we're the ones who have to act, because there is nobody else. So thank you for your time. Jai Baba.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was wonderful. Next, I'd like to introduce Ken Blackman, Board VP and Project Manager for the building construction. Ken, you can unmute.
Greetings, everyone, and Jai Baba. We're going to be taking a short video tour of the Mayher New Life Center building. But first, I'd like to acknowledge our stellar leadership team that Baba has provided us for this project. Peter Nordeen is our construction site supervisor. Fred Zimmerman is the chair of our building committee. And Jeannie Felkner is our volunteer supervisor, who you'll see in the video talking about our present volunteer needs. I just want to throw in, I appreciate everybody sharing. It's just heartwarming. When I first saw the building and every day I go there, I have to say, and my wife shouldn't be too jealous, but I'm in love with that building and the opportunities it provides as a future center for Baba and all he has to offer, and to be able to work there with other people who are so enthusiastic about what they're doing and bringing Baba's name in there every day. Enjoy the video. If you have any questions or want more information, please feel free to contact me directly at any time. You're welcome to come out and visit the site. I love giving tours. People who come out are very excited and thrilled to see what we're doing out there. So with that, let's take a look at this video and enjoy what's going on out at the New Life Center. Jai Baba.
Hey, Ken? Yeah. You got a minute to come give us a rundown about what you're doing? Give us the
always happy to give people a rundown about the school.
Yeah, the scope of things.
Yeah. Welcome. So we're here at the archive, part of the Red Oak School, which is also now known as the Mayher New Life Center. We've been here for several years working on this project. The project has been designed in 3 phases. The first phase is designed to be completed at this point with a target date of December 22nd. We're now in that last stages of trying to get this project on the road and get it finalized. I'm standing in front of what will be the archival vault, or what we call the archival work room and the archival storage areas. Waterproof, fireproof, indestructible pretty much, it's all masonry. So we've been at this, as I said, a long time, and we've completed a lot in the school. You should know that this school is 92 years old, but it's a beautiful school with great bones. That's why we bought it. The price points were good, and it gave us the opportunity to do a tremendous amount with a great amount of expansion potential in this building for the Baba archives and the Baba organizational and communities activities. So we've done a tremendous amount of work taking down walls, putting up walls, taking down ceilings, putting up ceilings, restructuring the attic, putting on basically a new roof with eaves, and attic being restructured to redesign it, so to speak. So a tremendous amount of work has gone on here. A lot of it you may not see, but it's going to make this building sturdy for the next 700 years. This building is going to be as solid as they come. You can see here we're doing some work putting in a new wall that's going to split a large classroom into 2 rooms for offices. We're coming down the hallway. I'd like you to just get a quick look behind you, if you can, at the stairs. A huge job, but we've put stairs up to the attic so we can make our way to the attic easily and carry things up like solar panels when we get solar going. We've also put new stairs up to the roof, which never existed. So we're able to go up to the roof now with stairs. We have an alleyway up there we can walk in with a platform. So a lot of things have been done to facilitate this building being operational. We put a new wall in here. This is going to be where the digital and scanning rooms will be. Over on this side, what you'll see is a beautiful space in the middle of the school. Basically, that will be a Baba space, silent meditation room. This space has just been designed and created recently and will be the library, the future library. This will be a director of archival activities in this room that's now being created. We just put that wall up yesterday. Things are moving really fast right now. Once we've got through the demolition, now we're in a position to move forward quickly with constructing what we need here. We're in the process of putting up another 2 walls here that will serve for the volunteer director and the volunteer space. Next to that is our break room and then the bathroom. We had to gut the entire building over here to get, so we put a new bathroom in over here. We're in the process of moving in that direction. This room will be a reading room next to the library, and if you could just scope up there and look at the ceiling, we've created a unique ceiling. Hopefully you can make it out. That is arched. It's vaulted. Next to that is the largest room on this floor for phase 1, which is a meeting room. The meeting room will be large enough to receive music events, meetings, talks, gatherings. So this room is designed for that. Today we're also working in the basement, preparing the basement to receive the electrical work that needs to come in because we're totally redoing the electrical in the building. And that should start very soon. Hi, Jane.
Hi. I'd like to welcome everyone out to volunteer, whether you're skilled labor, like a plumber, electrician, painter, or whether you're like me and you sweep and haul rubble and such. Please email us at volunteer@mayorarchive.org.
Great. Thanks for coming out and visiting. We hope to see you soon. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you so much, Ken. That was well done. Next, we have Evie Lindman, board member and interim liaison for the Fund Development Committee. Evie, you can unmute. You're not unmuted, Evie.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you this afternoon. If you have been active in doing Baba work at some point or some stage of your life, or probably currently, you know that it requires focus, energy, and financial resources. And we all have heard stories about how practical Baba was. So in our practicality, I'd like to tell you about a few initiatives that we're focusing on now. So one very exciting one to be announced today, right now, is a $50,000 challenge match by a generous anonymous donor. And I'd like to tell you how it works. So for every dollar that any one of us donates between October 1st and November 30th, your money will go twice as far because it's being matched by the donor. Let's say, for example, that with your collective generosity, we raise $40,000. What that means practically is that the donor will match that amount at $40,000. But what we really hope for is that during this challenge match, we are able to raise the full $50,000, which will be matched dollar for dollar, thus bringing in $100,000 toward our goal. That would be fantastic. This challenge match, as I said, begins October 1st and ends on November 30th. Another consideration is for those who wish to donate larger amounts and do not want to use the online function. You can feel free to reach out to Scott Tower or myself to discuss what it is that you have in mind and how to make those arrangements. A third way to support Mac's vision is by becoming a sustaining donor. Participants contribute a minimum of $25 per month, amounting to $300 per year or more if you like, to support the operations, including supplies, equipment, a growing workforce, the expansion of storage and workspaces, all in support of the ongoing preservation of Meher Baba's legacy. Finally, a new project that was launched earlier this week is regarding our collection of women's stories related to the women Mandali from the East and from the West. Our goal for this worldwide project is to connect women who love Meher Baba across the planet. Ann Barker and I have partnered on this, and we will ultimately create an archive of these stories. And what we have in mind, and I feel a personal passion for this, and Baba's been giving me an inner prompting to act, is that this is going to benefit future generations of Baba lovers who have never had the opportunity to meet the Mandali. I know it's difficult for all of us on this call to imagine our own disappearance in the future, but that will eventually happen, and we've got to think about the generations that come after us. So for those generations in the future, they will long for these stories because of how they touch the heart. So please reach out to Ann Barker and me if you know of women who have stories to share. These stories matter deeply. And out of that group of stories, we will sponsor a fundraising project, a worldwide Zoom session for women on Saturday, December 5th, in which a few of these stories will be shared. It will include breakout rooms for connecting more intimately, and of course, time for tea. So in summary, feel free to connect with me directly to discuss any of the above. So the matching challenge, the sustaining donor campaign, and the collection of women's stories. Jai Baba to each one of you. Back to you, Elisa.
Thank you, Evie. Those sound like very exciting projects. Next, we'll have Ann Barker, who's a board member and liaison for the New Life Library. Ann, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Elisa. The New Life Library is a small collection of print and audiovisual materials. Debbie Blackman manages the current collection at her home, and we are preparing inventories of the materials eventually to be available online. The collection development plan has as its goal to create a research library about Meher Baba, his followers, and his impact on the West. There also will be space for children's books on spiritual topics. We welcome suggestions of specific titles that people would like to see in the library. Of particular interest are books that triggered a spiritual search, including Meher Baba books, films, and music that were most influential to seekers. Thank you very much. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Ann. So next we have Renee Busanich, Board Secretary and Volunteer Services Liaison. Renee?
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. You've heard already about several volunteer issues and opportunities going on at the building side. I just want to announce and let you know that all that work amounts to about 6,000 volunteer hours so far, with a monetary value of around $125,000 in labor costs. So people have been pretty busy out there, Jeannie, Peter, and Ken particularly. We've also refurbished completely inside and out a 2-bedroom cottage, which is really a great little addition to the whole project out there where our caretakers stay. Now, just briefly, to let you know, in addition to the archiving of scanning and cleaning and rehousing that you heard Elaine discuss, there's a lot of other community volunteer options going on. We have fundraising options. We've got people make CDs and videos to support MAC, particularly the Nordeen family. People provide music and food and host events for us. So we have artistic and graphic design people working for us, and the IT and website work. But these are just a few of the volunteer opportunities, and there'll be many more to come, particularly as we start putting things into a database. And you can always find out more about those opportunities through our website. So now I just want to introduce Terry Adams, because she has some insight as to what it's like to actually hold the archive collections, look through them, and find wonderful treasures. And she's going to tell you a little bit about that. So I'm going to let Terry take it over. You there, Terry?
Now, here I am. Hi. Yes. Well, I started with the archiving the project when the MAC office first opened, and that was 3 years ago. And our first collection was Fred Ella's collection, and Fred Ella Winterfeld's collection, which is a very large collection donated by Molly Arani. And we didn't know what we were getting into at that time. We had 6 people working, and Elaine was wonderful. She trained us all in details of how to do it and what materials to use, and that was incredibly helpful. And she's very knowledgeable, so that really helped. And in that, we're doing this, we're going through his collection and looking through pages, and there were so many treasures in there, like cables and letters and stories and messages from Meher Baba, directly from Meher Baba, also from Mani and Mera and the Mandalay, and also just unbelievable amounts of correspondence about the Min Sahavas, the East-West gathering, when Baba was coming to Myrtle Beach for the first time. It was quite amazing, and I felt so blessed, and that's when I completely got addicted and fell in love with the whole thing. And so that was really wonderful. And recently we discovered Dee Dee Mavers gave us a collection of magazines, and that's a whole special way of, we have to learn to deal with the magazines, and Elaine's an expert at that. But in that collection were three-time magazines from 1932 and 1936. And in there were the stories about Baba when he came to Harmon on the Hudson. And I love the way they described him. Red flowing hair and a big mustache. And they talked about his silence and him keeping his silence, breaking his silence, and deciding not to break his silence, and the description of him. So it's really quite beautiful to find that. And also, let's see, I wanted to also mention my son Erich, and he's been really instrumental and very helpful with his technology and research expertise. He has helped find the best supplies and equipment and archive equipment that we've been using, and he's been very supportive of me and my work. And I hope to continue to do this as long as I can. I love it. I feel very blessed to be able to do it, and I'm looking forward to the next collection we get and see what's in there and what surprises it will give. And I feel very blessed to be able to be part of the volunteer group. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Terry. So now we're at the second part of our question and answer portion of the program. So Hugh, you want to unmute?
So we had hoped we would have tons of questions that I would have to be sorting through. That hadn't happened, but we want to continue to encourage you at any time you have a question about anything to please contact us. Go in through the website to do that, mayherarchive.org. And so to keep us on time with no more questions directly from our participants, I was going to suggest we move on. Ken, you have your hand up. You're muted.
Response to a previous question about the age and young people coming in, I just do want to share that when we first started, the average age of the workers out at the school was about 120. As of this last year, we're down to about 47, I think, average age. We've got several young people out there working with us, which is just lovely, especially when it comes to carrying things up and down the stairs that weigh a ton. So we are getting younger people out, and it's really delightful, and I'm very excited about that.
And thanks, Ken. I'll add to that. We're also seeking community participation from the younger generations. They're all raising kids, and most of us, if not all of us, know exactly what that's like. And so their time availability is limited, but we're very interested in having them come on board, and we're constantly looking for ways to make that happen. So, well, Lisa, let's end this question period and turn it back to you.
Thank you, Hugh. So again, feel free to email your questions later, or for those of you listening to the recording, and any questions will be answered promptly. In closing, Ken Blackman will do a final reading. Renee Busanich will then adjourn the meeting, and all are welcome to stay online for a special presentation by Beverly Smith. Ken and Renee, you can unmute.
These are Baba's words. Oh, my lovers, I love you all. It is only because of my love that I have descended on earth. Be brave and spread my message of love far and wide to all quarters in order to fulfill my divine will. Let the words Baba, Baba come from every nook and corner of the world and from the mouth of every child, and let their ignorance be reduced to ashes by the burning flame of my love. Come together in order to fulfill my will by taking your stand on truth, love, and honesty, and be worthy of participating in my task. I give you all my blessings for spreading my message of love. Jai Baba.
Thank you, Ken. In a moment, this meeting will officially come to a close. We have our wonderful Beverly Smith, as Elisa mentioned, and she's going to be following this, singing 2 of her songs that we all love very much. So stay tuned. Thank you all for joining us today. Our 2020 annual general meeting is now adjourned. Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba.
I could never stray far from my beloved's glance. It is the light that marks my way. It is the truth that I am anchored on. My shelter, come what may. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. When sorrows overtake me, shadows surround, I know my love will not Jesus. You are Buddha, Mohammed, and you are mine. You are Krishna, Zoroaster, you are Rama, and you are mine. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. True love's name is written in my heart, enshrined in gratitude. He is lovelier than words can describe, and loves me better than I could. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my Mary. You are Jesus. You are Buddha, Mohammed. You are mine. You are Krishna, Zoroaster. You are Rama, and you are mine. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my baby. Oh, my beloved. Oh, my baby. Jay Baba. Hey, hi, Jay Bob. Things are feeling weird this year, so happy to be in real time. Trials will come, and trials will go, but hold on to what you know. Peace will come, and peace will go, so hold on to what you know. Don't worry about what will
Jai Baba, everybody. Thank you so much, Beverly. Thank you, all of you who joined in today. Jai Baba to you all. Good day.
Thank you, Jai Baba.